G'day, welcome to MarkandSam After Work. Today I want to introduce a new rifle to you. It has a little bit of story with it, so bear with me. But it starts with the, I suppose there's various ELR ones. It's a little bit starts with our 375 Gibbs, which we haven't used for a while now. It's now a banned cartridge, I should say, in Western Australia. But I suppose that goes back to where that really comes from, and that's the 505 Gibbs. If you know the channel, you know that yes, we have one of the 505 Gibbs. This is one of the CZ 550s chambered in the 505 Gibbs. Really nice rifle. We've shot a little bit. It's basically, for those people who don't know about these, they are a Mauser action, so they're control feed. They have a set trigger. You might see I shoot this later in the video. You actually push it forward to set the trigger. I'll fire it like that. So that gives you a fine trigger, or you can just pull it, so that gives you a finer. I think it's down at around the 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds, so it's a lighter trigger. But very nice rifle, not made anymore, but something we've done a fair bit, chambered in, shot a fair bit, chambered in the 505 Gibbs. And in some fashions, as much as that's very much a safari rifle made for stopping bull elephants at 10 yards sort of stuff, and come out of that, the nature of exactly wanting a real stopping cartridge. In other senses, it's also, I'll put this back down, it's also the father of probably our true ELR cartridges, and that would be the 408 ERA-TAC, which is what the ERA-TAC intervention was chambered in, and definitely something that one of the first things chambered to go in the 3,000 meters shots is what that was chambered in. Not too long after that, the 375 ERA-TAC was introduced. So basically same principle, just going a step further, come down, lots of good stuff from there. And then obviously whether it's the 416 Barrett or the enablers or all the different cartridges that have come on with that, BEM using the ERA-TAC cartridge, the ERA-TAC, which is ultimately the rim, the Gibbs bolt face, or using the 338 bolt face, or using the BMG bolt face. And that's where a myriad of cartridges have come from. The one we used and did most of that stuff with was this one here, I'll move that across, was the 375 Gibbs, which is just a 375 ERA-TAC improved, but that's what we chambered it into and called it for the obvious reason. It is actually does have the parent of that case. So that's that little gang. What we've done, there's basically, it's as much about, to me, you would say there's a little bit of getting around the cartridge bands that we have over here in Western Australia. They are cartridge bands, they're not actually caliber, as much as they were based out of energy at distance and then going through factory loading sheets to find what energy at distance, and then they banned those cartridges. That's how they did it. So rifles that could shoot those cartridges, and those cartridges were banned, or chamberings were banned. But my real school of thought, I was sort of onto this strategy a long time ago, because it's really about showing that as much as yes, these are improved and different shoulder angles and all that sort of stuff to make it happen, this is still a very old cartridge. But actually how much energy and how much is that? If you put a modern bullet in those things and set it up in a modern rifle, how comparable they actually are. Sort of a little bit saying we haven't moved forward much at all. It's really more spin, but there's only a little bit to the new cartridge and how well they're designed, because the old ones, just with a good bullet in them and put in a good barrel, are still very, very good. And that's really what I'm trying to put forward. And to that aim, I have this, which is the 505 Gibbs. It's probably a tiny bit different than that, because that's a 50 caliber AMAX bullet in it that normally runs in the 50 BMG. Now, it's a 510. The Gibbs is a 505. The AMAX is a 510. So it's 5 thou bigger. So to do that, what I did was simply get, and I'll show you a rifle. We'll carry on from there. There we go. For those that are familiar with the channel from years ago, yes, this is the stock, custom stock, basic same setup with all the bits and pieces as what my 375 Gibbs was running. And that's the same action. It now has a really fine piece of work in the way of the barrel. Grant at Swan Barrels did this barrel up for us. He also had the 505 Gibbs ream, and that's all it's chambered in. Nothing special, it's not modified at all. The chamber is 505 Gibbs. The only difference is that you wouldn't run this AMAX through a 50, well, you wouldn't risk it because it's 5 thou too large to run in a 505 Gibbs to run in that other rifle there. Apart from it's a bit long to get in the magazine as well. But that's what that barrel is. So that's just over 32 inches. I think it's 32.5 inches. And Granto, like I said, at Swan Barrels did that for us. Come up brilliantly, really happy with it. It's got one of my blank 6-port muzzle brakes on it. You can't see that. It's one of the blank 6-foot muzzle brakes, which means it's basically all drilled out, that sort of stuff, all like it is, but it doesn't have a thread in it. So that's been threaded to go onto the end of here, push back so that it's all set up and nice and neat and tidy in a 6-port, which is definitely what I felt I was going to need. And I suppose beyond that point, it's the same rail. It's got one of my scopes that sits on like normal. This has the Barnard trigger, and I had it set very lightly, at a very low pressure. It's just under half a pound. So it's a very light trigger, probably a little bit too light to what I'm up to the moment, but I just left it that was, bolted all that back together. This is set up with a heavy bag rider, the cheek riser, all the bits and pieces that I was doing with, and a custom bolt that I built for this thing, bolt handle I should say, I built this thing when I was shooting out at 5Ks, which is the last time I really used this rifle.
Top left corner. It was like 10 o'clock, just off left edge.
We're in the zone.
Yeah, man.
That we ran out of conditions. Being able to see that far is just too tricky. We weren't getting that done, but now that cartridge has been banned, that's sort of off the table for the moment anyway. But all the bits and pieces, including the bipod system I've got on here, which is set up a little bit angled back for the angle you're sort of shooting up at and that type of thing, but very much a tactical format of ultra long range shooting was where this rifle was set up for. So that, the 505 Gibbs barrel in it now, and we set this up this round here, and then I had to do my educated guessing and careful testing to build up a load. And yeah, that's not the type of thing you can find data for. If you look at all the ways it stops with the 505, it doesn't have that sort of weight of bullet. And that is a 750 grain projectile. So there's a little bit of careful testing and to make sure that I'm not doing things wrong. And I haven't done too much, to be truthful, because I procrastinated and guessed my way into that thing. That's a sort of an error of me screwing up my face and thinking about it. And I ended up running Rotumbo, or 225, as people would know. And I ended up with, I tried only 3 different load positions to see what was going to happen. And largely it's a filled case with slight compression is where I've ended up. So I don't share, as a rule, I do not share actual specific grains on the channel. I don't know who I'm talking to exactly, as much as a lot of people that would take it with great value. I don't want to say the wrong thing to a novice who is not. But as a rough idea, it has around 3 times, a little bit over 3 times the amount of powder that you find in the average 308 or 6.5 Creedmoor. So yes, there's a lot of powder in there. And with a 750 grain projectile, what was I hoping for? I was hoping to see over 200 feet per second. I was expecting to hopefully see just over 2100 feet per second. For a little bit of reference, roughly the same amount of powder in this, which is, and I've forgotten what the bullet is, these are 500 grain bullets I think that we've got in here. 535 grain bullets I think we've got in here in the 505 Gibbs. Roughly the same amount of powder, or actually the same powder, the 225. I had a little bit of a dance to find out powder that worked in this. I could make it go faster, but to get a full case to make sure that I got ignition, I went to the 225 here, and it's where it worked nicely for me. very similar amount of powder, and this makes, which I tested again just today yesterday when I went out and shot this, which is just the yesterday morning. This ran 21, roughly 2150, 2130, 2150, that neck of the woods. Bit more of a spread out of what was getting out of this here. So we saw, I think, as much as a 25 feet per second spread in this fairly crude old fella, but that's what it ran. So not the great big numbers that a lot of people talk of, where the 2600 feet per second out of a 600 gram projectile, but still lots and lots of recoil, full case of powder, shot really well, nice and accurately, a bit more to shoulder, and I'll show you a little me shooting that.
Tall, nice and straight, 4 targets tall.
Okay, righto. Well, I keep bumping that back. I know, that's how it is. That's up.
Bottom left, 1.5 targets left and low.
One more.
Oh yeah.
Left and low, you said?
Yes, 1.5 targets. Oh, just over top. Really close.
So there it is there. That actually tested, I got my speeds properly with that. I also got some more brass back to be able to load up with this one here to do some more testing. But really, this is about this one and about this rifle. And what did I see? Well, I saw just over, really 2300 feet per second. Right to the point of the first 3 shots yesterday morning, it was 2297, 2297, 2297. I had to double blink to the fact of it had 3 shots and they were all red 2297, so just under 2300 feet per second. On settling with things, it was running just over the 2300 feet per second. What's going on there at all? Okay. He's not going to fire today. Let's go paper shoulder.
Rightio. Good to go.
Okay. Going to be a bit of push.
Tall and right. 1 target tall, 2 targets right.
Okay, interesting. Same speed.
Okay. Beautiful. Top left. Got him.
It's a good hit.
It is.
Same speed. What's going on? That says shot 3.
Okay.
2297. So it's got to come down. 1. Right, we're going too far. Okay. Okay, well we'll see how we go. This might do as a 3-shot group.
Okay. Beautiful. Middle top. Excellent.
Oh, that's good.
How's it feel?
Good.
That's good.
That was a tiny bit fast. That was 13.10.
Okay.
That feels, it's definitely a brute,
Yep.
but it's not a terrible brute.
Okay.
Now that was me. I missed. I get a little bit of cant movement.
Okay. Well, 3 on plate, that's not too bad, mate.
Yeah, well it is, but it still should be small. I'll do this. I pulled that trigger a little early.
Okay.
But everything's sort of settling down.
Yep. Middle top.
I do. There's a little tiny bit of a tight spot.
Okay.
Right at the top there. I'll do one more of that as I got it all settled.
Okay.
I've got these 2 more to fire really, I suppose.
Yep. Nice. Middle top. Top edge.
Well, it's definitely, this trigger's trying to be a tiny bit light for what I'm doing.
Okay.
I might as well fire these, mightn't I? 2300 exactly.
Well, as you can see, that's really manageable. That's listen, I suppose I'd have to point out that that's the shooting you saw me do there. That's a really awkward place. Our 600-yard target, it works quite well with the smaller rifles. Also, when we've whippersnipped and cleaned up, got rid of the grass or slashed or whatever you want to call it, but we hadn't been there for a couple of weeks and that grass has literally grown about a foot while we haven't been there. So that was something we should have been onto it. We've been doing this enough to realise that we should have been onto it, but just didn't realise, really tall grass. So flattened it down, laid on it, that sort of stuff, but I had to have the front up a fair bit to make sure I wasn't shooting through the grass to get to that target. That target is the maximum angle we shoot at. The target difference is about 40 meters at only 600 yards, and actually our 3000 stuff isn't even that low. The angle's a lot less because it's less than 40 meters out there. So it's the steepest angle we get to shoot at in that little range around there. And with tall grass needing the front high, I needed the back really high on the adjustable bag base, so I had things maxed out. So it's a terrible shooting position. And that would be my excuse for a couple that pulled out of basically what was going to be a under 1 MOA group for the first shots with this. And it is set up in the ELR form. It's set up to where a little bit of up angle, it's going to work nicely. Down angle, what I was trying to do was very awkward. And there's a lot of recoil. Really have to get everything dialed in, lined up, make sure it all works. There is a lot of energy from a 750 grain bullet traveling off at 2,300 feet per second. That's going to work really well for what I want to prove. So we've got to wait now. I suppose what I'm really saying is my real sort of excuse for how bad that was, even though it was on steel all the time, that sort of stuff, was only 600 yards and I did get a couple off to the right. That was really recoil management. I had everything maxed out and raised up too much at the back, and I was trying to push over the top to do that. You see me leaning a bit further forward to get the crosshairs back on with I was out of adjustment there. So to bring it back down to where it makes sense and it's stable, then it's probably around the 2,000 meters where it starts from, and maybe we'll start there and maybe we'll start further out. But listen, awesome. This rig is up and alive and shooting again. I had thoughts of building a different chassis for this one and do a custom chassis to go with the Barnard P-Chey action. But listen, it's nice to have this one back in action again. So it's going to work really well. So I'm look forward to using it like it is. Anyway, that's it. On the story of things, really, what I say is the likes of the old cartridges set up properly work so very well. It's something that we will hope to be able to show off as to how nice that goes in the near future.
but at the moment it's alive and shooting nicely, and it's a little bit more than a plinker, but we'll see what we get to do over the next little while. Guys, thank you very much for checking in. I hope you liked the video, and we'll catch you next time.